Welcome back to Active Minds Podcast, where we seek to learn through the experiences and perspectives of people that are paving their own way. We then have a little fun. We brainstorm, shoot the shit with them to see how it actually pertains to us, how we can learn from their lessons and apply it in our everyday life. And most importantly, the whole idea here is to move smarter together. So today we're joined by my co-host Danny and Austin Fox. Actually, that's a badass name.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Is that really your name?
It is.
Oh crap! Okay, and the whole topic and theme that we're going to be talking about today is creating magic. The whole idea of taking some creativity, some problem solving, and specifically how he interprets life, and see where we go with this. So first things first. Thank you for coming. Secondly, something that popped up to both of us was your love of architecture.
Yeah.
And it
Love
spoke to
architecture.
us.
Okay.
Her, because of her fashion background and the way that she likes to approach life. And me, it's just the nerd in me, dude. It's just like, fuck yeah. But that's the first thing that popped off to us.
Okay.
What is that like?
Being in the world of architecture is creative. It's a creative mindset. Like, it's almost like in fashion, we were just talking about briefly. You're taking something and you're bringing it to life. So you're challenging yourself. There's a lot of things you have to balance. And that's kind of like with life and in general. So I think a lot of similarities. A lot of architecture students start off in architecture and then they venture out to other ventures because they realize about themselves that creative passion. So I think it's something that can relate to not only just us as creatives, but others out there as well. So
How do you get your inspiration? Where do you grasp inspiration from? Is there a specific style that you like?
Okay. So this is something that I think we all do is we all see what others are doing and we basically want to use that as inspiration. So what we do is I see what others are doing and you take it and you make it better.
Yeah.
You don't, I want to say stealing it, but it's almost a sense of like making it your own. So if I see some architect acting a certain style or doing this, I want to take that and take bits and pieces and make it my own.
Have you heard of Austin Kleon?
I have not.
He wrote this book, Steal Like an Artist. And the reason that I loved his book was specifically it deals with that, but also because what you just said goes back to the practice of everything is a derivative of a derivative of the derivative of derivative. So there's no such thing as original.
Right. I agree 100%.
That's why it's called inspiration.
Yes.
But this is also a touchy subject because a lot of people get really pissed.
They'll get over it. It's a feeling. They'll get over
But
it.
who are some people? We were talking earlier, and we mentioned I mentioned Zaha Hadid. You said you're a big fan. So what kind of things have you gotten from somebody like Zaha Hadid or somebody else that you can tell us that inspired you in a project that you've done?
Okay, I think it's not only Zaha Hadid, I think it's like looking at the buildings down here. Like, again, I'm from Fort Lauderdale, a little bit north. So driving down here, the culture and history is very significant down here in Miami, as you guys can see. So it could be something as a way a window is styled, a way a facade is built or designed. I mean, there's a building down the street that had greenery all over. So little things like that.
That's nice.
It could be the minor. It doesn't have to be a major architect, which I think a lot of people can do. Whatever they're in is take little bits and pieces of. Doesn't have to be the biggest guy, but it can be the smallest guy.
Okay.
Little things, and you kind of come together, and that can give you, I think, a competitive edge versus like going after the big guys. The big guys only do this. What if I take a little bit here and a little bit here and give it a little twist?
Smart. So like your environment, your surroundings has a lot to do with the way that you create.
Agreed, 100%.
I mean, you saw that for years.
Yeah.
Because you in your line of work, you were basically curating / creating at the same time.
Yeah.
You guys see it in fashion.
In fashion, it's different. I definitely get inspiration.
I had that wrong.
No, I mean you have it right. I for me, it's a lot about the person that I'm styling, and I feel like this is why every stylist is different, and this is not about me. But for me, it has a lot to do with the person that I'm styling because if you try to change that or make it based on yourself or on something else, then they're not comfortable, and then they don't act. They're more awkward. Your style is kind of like your armor for that day. Like, and if you are wearing something that doesn't belong to you and doesn't speak to your essence, then you're not going to portray yourself well on camera. You're not going to portray yourself well when you're speaking to somebody. You're not going to be confident.
So would you say it's like a comfort thing?
I think that's most important thing is making somebody feel comfortable. Obviously, a real seasoned model, we'll have to do it like Tyra Banks. You're in the water, it's freezing. But that's very extreme. But I lean towards more personal styling for that reason. But
So it's like when you put out your renderings,
Right.
for example, and you have to give a presentation. It's not built yet, but you're selling people on tomorrow.
Creating that comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort in the developer, comfort in the investors, comfort in the city. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing. You want to sell it, you get that feeling, that warm fuzz. You want the group involved to feel like it's well worth it and well involved. Same with your clients. Same thing. You want to be like, this is comfortable.
So how do you feel about these buildings that are going up that are just like being mass produced, that all look like computers? Because I mean, man,
It's
it's like fast fashion, you know, but
It's-
buildings.
it's out of control, honestly.
Yeah.
It really is out of control. It's a race. As you guys see, what the economy is unique. We'll leave it at that. What's going on right now? So
It's very kind of you.
yeah, right. It's very kind. So I think it's a race. Is people just trying to get ahead of one another. So it's resulting in these just finding the land, get it done, and call it a day. So you don't have that time like Zaha Hadid had, the time, the budget, the patience, versus these guys are like, let's just get it built, make some money, and call it a day. So
So it sounds like a stupid question to ask you at this point. So you've heard of Frank Lloyd Wright already,
I have.
seen his work, and you sounded so much like what he says, because he would incorporate, like, for example, the one he has in Maryland with the waterfall. He literally built it with the land. There's
Yep.
another one I saw in Scottsdale. I like fell in love with Scottsdale. But it looked like it was part. If you didn't see the windows, you would just think it's part of the terrain.
Beautiful.
And so he also went with the exact same thing, like give it attention, pay attention to detail.
it's hard nowadays because of the push, the race to get things
Yeah.
done and get things built. So as you guys, rents are rising. People just want to get things built. Zaha Hadid had budgets for days, so she can
Yeah.
spend the time and put that extra love into it. But some developers are push. Some developers are very like, let's spend the time. I've worked with both, and I see how they both react. It's just a case by case. So
How do you feel about, the more eco-friendly, like places like Tulum, for example, like where basically it feeds itself, the way that it's built is
I'm 100% behind the sustainable, the green
Okay.
building. I think it's really important that we're going to start seeing it with EVs going on. The cities are pushing for it now with tax credits, solar energy. So we're going to start seeing more of that. The research is getting better. I think it's really the next 10, 20 years, we'll start seeing some cool buildings with that.
Are there any buildings that you're working on right now that are like this?
We are, but it's can't really say too many details. But
Okay.
it's more in the materiality to get that extra green factor. It results in a lot of cost savings.
What does that mean for someone who doesn't know?
Yeah.
Someone doesn't mean so. For example, like solar panels. We all know what solar panels are. By simply adding those, you save money on electricity. That's like the most basic example. It can get into very complicated, and I'm not here to make everyone fall asleep.
Oh, you were talking about us?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're good. We're
So
good.
it can get very nitty gritty. So like in materials, where they get them, where they reusing rainwater, local materials versus materials from out of the country, that type of thing.
Speaking of rainwater, kind of related, random but related. I had just seen that now across the world, that pollution got so bad that rainwater cannot be drank, which is obviously makes sense. But how does that affect that right there? Because collecting it, I'm guessing it's for it to be repurposed.
Yeah, see that's the thing. It doesn't have to be repurposed for potable like drinking use. You can use it for flushing toilets.
So
you don't have to
So it
actually
doesn't
drink
matter.
It doesn't matter.
If it's like full of metal and,
There you
and
go. There's
Xanax.
two-
It's the
there's-
water of the plants.
Exactly. Water plants or for sewers, stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be like actual drinking water.
Oh, okay. Well, your attention to detail is obviously something that
Yeah.
basically encompasses everything you do. What does it look like for you? For example, when you decide to take on a project, you said you've worked with the fast fashion developer and you've worked with the Zaha Hadids. How do you decide? Did I mispronounce her name?
No, you said
Okay.
Right.
How do you decide who to work with?
How do I decide who to work with? It's more of like it's not just like we take every project. It's a
Yeah, of
two-way
course.
street because once you get involved in a building, it's not a 2-month process, a 2-year process approximately. So it's evaluating their goals, obviously budget, their timeline, seeing how our schedule aligns with theirs. At the end of the day, it's a partnership. I think that goes with any industry. Is you want to make sure that they're the right partner. So same thing with everyone here is you want to make sure the right partner fits you. So
What kind of qualities do you look for in a business partner?
a business partner, you want someone that's confident. I think that's the number one thing, that can be confident in their decisions, their choices, and that may come with experience. So experience comes second because obviously they run in parallel. So those two I think are really important when selecting a partner or client to work with. So
And how do you unwind? Like this is a
Unwind.
lot. How do you relax? What do you do on your free
It's
time?
constant, coordination calls, but I like to, hang with friends, play some sports, gym. I think mental health is a big thing.
Yeah.
I tell my employees and all my consultants, we do all this work stuff every day. But at the end of the day, I think the main thing is health and family. So if anything comes up mental-wise, family, I'm like, take the time off. I'm all for that. So it could be the beach, just basically stepping away from the computer, which we all spend a little too time, I think. But we got to take care of ourselves at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think was the moment in your life that you decided to do this? What made you become an architect? What brought you here?
Legos.
Yeah.
I love
Fuck
that.
yeah, now we're
Everyone
getting-
expects like an in-depth. I just like Legos and it led to buildings.
Did you grow up with Connects?
Yeah, Connect.
Oh, I loved it. This is the
Lincoln
first time-
Logs.
Yes, dude, that's the first time you can make
now we're
something
getting-
run
we're getting-
with a rubber band.
that's
All you need
so
is a rubber band connects. All of a sudden, this
Everyone's
thing's
expecting
moving.
like an in-depth. Like I saw the. No, I like Legos.
Legos.
He came to me.
Yeah, just keep it simple, guys. I like
Legos.
it.
Shout out to Legos.
There you go.
Mattel's
Mattel's
gonna sponsor this next one now.
Right.
But sorry, I got it. That was,
No, go ahead.
But specifically when it came to that, like, yes, Legos things just come together. You talked before, like I take from here, I take to there, and put it. What does that look like in your brain?
It's just about dissecting, dissecting curiosity, like seeing how things are put together. It's like taking a fashion model, like you have a silhouette, and it's like how does this shirt work with these pants? It's like the same idea. It's the same concept of taking things and putting together, which is kind of like how you build a business, how you build a brand, how you build a style. So it's basically that same, but applied in different industries. So I'm applying it to buildings, but it's all correlated together. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Would you say that you're kind of like a chameleon in the way that you can like adapt, or do you have a specific like Spanish style, or clean, or like what's your modern? What's your aesthetic?
I got you. This is a good question because I'm a young it's an old man's industry. A lot of the
Yeah.
architects are like double my age, and I come in with a young, fresh, modern take because
Okay.
of what I've been exposed
more
to.
contemporary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so more contemporary, more young, driven, like hyperactive type of style versus the old, slower Spanish style. I'm more
Yeah.
like go-getter. So it's a little more aggressive style, but I think it's just because I'm younger in the industry versus.
What does an aggressive style look like?
I mean, I'm just
Leather wallpaper. No, I'm kidding.
leather wallpaper, spikes coming
No
off the
furry
wall.
walls here.
You just want to do lots of windows, push to the nth degree. You want to maximize. I'm trying to do things that are like pushing the limit to the design versus
Really?
like be comfortable. Yeah.
I'd love to. I'd
Yeah,
love to see
see?
some of this stuff.
Think
yeah.
about it. You want to build a house. If you have a property, ask you a question. You want to push the limit, right? You don't want to stop halfway.
Oh, you're talking to the right audience, dude. I've been a development director for
There
9
you go.
years. So
You want to push it to that's with anything. So it's like almost like why stop?
yeah.
Why when you can keep going? So it's easier to put it this way. It's easier in our practice. Easier to scale down than to scale back up. So we go balls to the wall, go crazy, and then you can scale back as needed.
There's a parallel to your thing.
Oh God, put me on the spot again.
Fashion, because of the whole thing that I love. I learned a lesson from fashion, which is there's a sophistication to simplicity. Basically,
Yeah.
you start and then you cut it in half, and then you cut it in half again.
Bingo.
Until there's nothing you should be removing anymore. And I credit your industry in teaching me that because it's been so helpful, especially when it comes to growth hacking.
Yeah.
It's all about we got to move.
Well,
So-
yeah, when you overcomplicate things, especially when you have so many moving factors,
Mm-hmm.
it's like hats off to you because wow, the
Keep it simple.
construction.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah.
Obviously, have you ever had a moment where a project just ended out terrible and just didn't come out the way you planned, and how did you deal with that?
Terrible as planned. I don't think I've had anything like that. I think it's more of just like hiccups.
Okay.
But at the same time, we just have to push through it. You find a way to get through it. Obviously, budget sometimes comes into play, but ultimately it's just about getting through the obstacle. We don't ever stop or trash it. Nothing's ever thrown away because you could always reuse it or improvise down the line. So.
Do you work hiring from the ground up, like the people that are helping you? Do you work with a lot of people that are not from here?
Well, my employees are not from. They're actually from Mexico.
Right.
So I like
That's what I was
actually
getting at, yeah.
people not from where I'm from because they bring in that extra flair.
So habla español entonces.
Un poquito.
Oh, there we go.
Entiendo, no hablo.
And what do you?
You what are you doing right now? You're like that Family Guy skit.
Yeah,
Up
right.
until this point.
No, but it's like you want that. I almost encourage the melting pot
Yeah.
We
because
call
of
it
that.
sazon.
Yes.
I like sazon.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So how do you feel about the difference between American workers and Mexican workers? What do you see?
It's a nice
Cut.
day out.
No, because I feel like actually we work really hard. I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican and
Very,
Cuban.
very
Yeah.
good work ethic.
Yeah.
Very, very good work. I mean, it's respect, work ethic. I mean, it's a lot of things that I think could be taught.
Yeah.
That like it's a lot of core values that I'm like, I love them and they love me and we work hard and it's like they motivate me to wake up and work for them type of thing, and it's that type of stuff that you don't see often.
Yeah, the reason why I'm bringing this up is to give more opportunity to that, and people
I'm all
hiring
for
people who are not from here, because giving opportunity to and trusting that the job can get done. So
I'm all for it. It's worked out really well.
Yeah, there's something to be said there. I've worked with teams over like in Eastern Europe and Asia and Latin America, and you specifically just said like they motivate you to wake up and work for them. Yeah. Like I was just having a conversation
You're not
with my
gonna get paid
team.
if you don't show up.
Yeah, like they make me feel lazy sometimes, and I like that. I'm like, oh shit, let's do it. Yeah, no, there's a completely different ballpark. Not to say that people in America are lazy, but I'm also saying a lot of you motherfuckers are lazy.
People in America are lazy. I'm saying it.
Oh, I'm saying it too. That's why America, especially moving out here to Miami, feels like life on easy mode.
Yeah, I saw this reel this morning. This guy posted. He's at a stoplight. On the left is American guy, and he's like begging for help. And then you have the guy on the right who's mowing the lawn is Mexican, I guess, or Spanish. Like the difference between American and like immigrants, I guess you'd say. It just goes to show you that like we are lazy at times, and they're hard workers. And I love my guys, and if they're watching, I love you guys. So.
Well, you're technically part Latino now. You like Sazón. You live in Florida. Look, you work in Mexico.
I'm cultured, man.
How do you give back?
I actually donate. I take part in the local charity. So we do a lot of work in Pompano. We recently just sponsored a volleyball foundation.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So I was out there hanging out with them, giving out hats and stuff. And I think that's cool to kind of like give back to the community in a sense of like being. I don't want to just like write the check and say, hey, have a nice day. To actually show up there, and that's kind of what I did for the last 2-3 years, is be involved in that. And I'm looking for more opportunities as well. So. If you guys have any, sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, now that I know that, absolutely.
It's cool.
There is this. The first one that comes to mind is someone I know up in Melbourne. They do something with NFL players specifically for the youth, and basically like there'll be like a guest star basically that shows up. There's like a practice with them and the whole line. So things of that nature. They love people like you.
It's crazy like how like just talking to like when I went to like I did some volunteering at my old college FAU, and just like talking to other architect students. It's really cool to like. It's not much for me to go out of my time, 30 minutes, an hour a day. It really makes an impact. So it's things like that. So.
Do you guys do in my industry? We do mood boards and things like that. Like, do you go off mood boards, or what's the creative process like?
We do mood boards, so it really is feeling out the client, because at the end of the day, we're servicing a developer, or whether it be a new house or a new project. So we kind of play the chameleon role. We want to see what they're giving. We kind of see how they're feeling. Do they like, this style or that style? And we kind of service for them in that sense. You want to find out what they want. It's like they almost tell us what they're looking for, and we kind of like mood board it, kind of accustomed to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
of course it does.
Diagnosing.
It's like almost like diagnosing the patient. So it's like same thing with fashion. Like I don't like wearing long pants. I like wearing shorts. So you'll kind of like tailor the outfit, or you get the idea.
What do you do when you can't find inspiration?
When you can't find inspiration, I'll tell you, I take a step back.
Yeah.
Take a step back, take a break. Maybe I take a couple hours, go to the gym or walk outside, kind of like get back, and then you kind of come back at it 10 times full. I think it's
so important.
Yeah.
Stepping away from the problem. That's true. Sometimes you're a little too close to the problem.
I think as a creative, sometimes we get so overwhelmed.
Yes.
And it's just like you have to step away.
You're so like sowing the vision. And there's times where like I'll be sowing a project and like someone from an outside view, like it's right there.
Yeah.
Like, all right. I didn't. Like,
where are my glasses?
You get the idea. So
on
when
your
you
head.
sometimes stepping back to get that other eye, or asking somebody else for like, hey, what do you think of this?
Oh, I do that with her all the time. That's why she's like wanting to strangle me because I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And she's like, just leave me the fuck alone.
Stop making me think.
That helps you. That's a good question. That's a good one.
But specifically, speaking of inspiration, you said stepping back from the. You live up in Fort Lauderdale, so you can look at Miami from a safe distance. From a safe distance, where do you see Miami in the next 2 to 3 years?
Next 2-3 years, I think we're gonna start to see a lot more crazy buildings.
Yeah.
But it's
Frank Gehry, come.
It's such a unique environment. Like I really don't know, because it's like when I was out west Miami right here, it's like all like different income versus east. It's like a very unique environment. I think you're gonna see it. Personally, what I think is that people are moving north to get more away. Either
Yeah.
people moving north or people moving to Miami.
Yeah.
I think Miami is going to be out of control in the next 2 to 3 years because of taxes. A lot of our clients are from Morocco, England, New Jersey, New York. I'm sure you guys are seeing California. You're getting a melting pot. So I think it's going to only escalate it. So you're going to see a lot more like, I'd say like people from out of Miami or U.S. coming to Miami and kind of beefing it up a bit. So it's going to be unique to see how it plays out, to be honest.
Whoa. Wait. If you're watching this and enjoying it, press pause for a second. Go to ActiveMindsClub.com. Again, ActiveMindsClub.com.
Here you will have membership access to our exclusive networking events, as well as behind-the-scene access to our guests where you yourself can ask them questions.
Not to mention, at these events and in the community, you're going to have access to the very mentors that are here sitting with us, as well as many, many more that are doing cool things in stocks, marketing, cars, real estate, where we're going to have you have access to education, insights, how-tos, all things that you can apply to your life and business.
What do you recommend to people that are being like kind of pushed out, or you say move north?
I mean, I'm not saying move north, but that's what we're seeing from our side. So we're seeing like the people from Miami go to Fort Lauderdale moving the West Palm. It's kind of like a cycle because it's cheaper north, unfortunately. But you're also seeing people come down to Miami. So it's like you have this transcending back and forth. I see more of the locals moving north and the out of state, out of country people coming to Miami.
It's a bit sad. Like I feel like the soul of our places, we're kind of being pushed out. Yeah.
We're the new California. I'm calling it first.
The New Yorkers going to step out of
We're the new California with the way things are going. I think so. It's gonna
Really?
No,
New California? Why?
New California. I think because
Are we going to have paper straws too?
No, not like that sense.
Okay.
I'm just saying like in sense of like prices.
Save the turtles.
Oh, I mean...
Prices?
Like price, like
Yeah, rent is ridiculous.
I feel like...
I don't want to throw the rent thing, but it kind of like is leading to that.
Yeah.
It plays hand in hand with that.
I'm one of the guilty parties. That's why I'm like, 'cause I'm from New York. I came down here, and when I came down here, like years ago,
I
I'm like,
thought we were
I walked
friends.
in here like, this is Kohl's. Everything's 60% off. I love this.
Yeah, this is cheap. $5,000 rent.
Yeah, let's go. Exactly. And you get like double the place for like a quarter of the money. And yes, unfortunately, that is a little blind on my side. And anecdotally, I can see how that can be messed up for the rest of everyone here because, yeah.
So it's his fault.
So when I see everything
basically,
cheap,
I'm leaving.
she's over here like, get out.
It's his fault, guys.
Oh, you can blame it all on me. I'm perfectly fine accepting the blame. But not only that, you also have a lot of hedge funds and a lot of my finance buddies. Like, I want to say 3/4 of my Rolodex of finance bros of Northeast and West, they're now here.
You show me a Rolodex? I want to see a Rolodex. You got a Rolodex for
I
real?
love the fact
No,
that he says Rolodex
No.
all the time. It makes me laugh. You think he's like 60.
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in my day.
They're all here now, and it's kind of
Rolodex.
interesting.
Yeah, we get a
I'm
lot
going to
of
lick my thumb.
we get a lot
Let me
of calls
just go
from
through
that
my
stuff.
Rolodex. Like, let's see your Rolodex. Seriously.
I welcome you busting my balls, but yeah, the fact
It's
that
all
they're all
love.
here, and that's why I asked too, like what your perception is, because you're actively seeing the changes coming, and you're also seeing people's creative output more than anything, you know.
It's a unique time. I think it's, especially in Miami, we're going to see a lot of things changing in the next 2-3 years. So it's a good question.
So, what's something that not a lot of people know about you? What's a facade that you put on, and that maybe like you have a little mushy side or something inside, or something like
Then it
that?
exposes everything. No, sometimes I could seem like very businessy. A lot of like leaders, CEOs can kind of be like that. But at the same time, like you do, I said mental health I think is a big thing. I do have a soft side when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I think it's important. So like you said, how I wind down, take some time away, I think is something that a lot of people portray they are too tough for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's becoming more apparent. So I think being transparent with the mental health and being able to understand that, guys, I know we're all tough, trying to be strong and all, but it gets hard sometimes. You got to take some time, and everyone handles it differently, but at least acknowledge it. And that's kind of what I'm at the point right now is like, business gets crazy, I'm stressed, and I'm just, all right, I understand what's going on. Let me tailor it back or do what I got to do for it. So
It's interesting. There's a common denominator here: awareness, self-care.
Self-awareness.
exactly.
Self-care, taking time for yourself, all these things, taking a step back when you feel blocked, are a common denominator amongst a lot of people that we've interviewed.
Absolutely, everything rhymes. How you do anything is how you do everything, is what I've noticed with pretty much everyone who sat in that seat before. The same way that they approach home is exactly how they approach everything else. And that's why when one is out of sync, you're just kind of like,
There was a saying that the first time I listened in, not a saying, something that someone said the first time I sat in. I was too shy to get started, and it resonated with me. And tell me if you're this kind of person and this kind of person. Are you one of those people that, like, you know, you're walking on the beach and you see like all this plastic? Are you just gonna walk by it or pick it up? And that comment of just being like, you know, not doing it because anyone's watching you, not doing it just to be like a member of society that actually cares and takes that moment just to pick up that trash. It's not your job, but it seems like the people who are taking strides and doing big things in life are this type of people.
I think to expand on that, as there's like, you know, when you're with people, like they have a box, like I only do these 3 things and that's it. Like,
yeah.
You ever like the saying, like when you're working with people, I only do this. If you're that box person, you're gonna limit yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
It goes to that. Like,
Yeah.
if I ask one of my, like, say my partners, hey, can you do this? And they're not like, all right, it's not in my box, I'm not doing it. Like, oh, we'll do it. You do whatever it takes to get the job done. You do whatever it takes to take the next step forward. So by limiting yourself to that box is only gonna hold you back. Same thing with that. I don't pick up trash because I'm not a trash person. It's like,
Yeah.
well, just pick it up.
It's a forward, again, another common denominator, forward thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So
What would you say you've noticed in people, maybe not in architecture because, you know, that's a little close to home, but from the outsider's perspective, what is another industry that you've noticed is seeing more of Austin Foxes coming in?
I would say probably like the digital space. I think we're seeing a lot of that. Like the Instagram's really pushing that motivational entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah.
So a lot of this like digital entrepreneur, like whether it be Amazon, e-commerce, or whatever the case may be, is really pushing that. Architecture is really like a real estate slow game. So it's very like not in the highlights, but this like the Lamborghini, that type of like stuff you see on Instagram is really push. I think in the younger generation we're seeing it because of Instagram.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that more, like everyone wants to be more motivational, business owner, kind of like before it wasn't so like glamorous.
Maybe I could be wrong here, but if everyone's a coach, who the fuck's playing?
right.
I heard that line before. It's like, if
yeah.
everyone wants to be a coach, it's like, okay, well.
But that's what I was
playing.
going to comment. I mean, I don't know if it ties in, but being an architect is not easy. I mean, it's a lot of school. I mean, you have to do a lot. And so he really didn't choose you're an entrepreneur, but you chose the it takes a minute to get to where you're at. A lot of people
minutes.
doing the short game, you know, like, which is okay, you know, make quick money, but you have this knowledge and it took time. It's not like you chose the short game.
No, it was definitely not a short path, but it's like, you know, again, back to Legos, I just love it. I love what I do. So it's like, I knew I wanted to be a businessman because my parents were business. Both of them were very, very, very successful business people. So it's like, I knew I wanted to be an architect. How do I tie the two together? So I knew I wanted to start my firm. I knew that I got a taste of what it was like very early on.
Were your parents architects as well?
No, they're not. Neither of my parents are architects. My father owned a car shop. He recently just retired. My mother owns a Dairy Queen.
Love
so
that.
they completely two like different ramps. Yeah, you're set.
We're on our way. We're going there right now.
But
so your parents were entrepreneurs. They had
Yeah.
an interesting relationship with money then.
Yeah, so it's a unique. They taught me how to use it, how to like think about it, being around it. So it's like that exposure, I think, is what kind of like led me to be an entrepreneur in that sense. And you tie that in with school, what you love, and you kind of, let's put it this way, I would be okay with making less money being my own boss than working like a full-time job somewhere else,
Right.
like, for someone else.
And that's
That's what's like the drive for what I
Yeah.
have.
What is your parents' perceptions of billionaires?
Billionaires, they honestly it's more towards millionaires. And the billionaires are just
Okay.
like too out of their planet. They're
Okay.
like, oh, it's just out of our realm. But millionaires, they think is, you know, they think if you're a millionaire, you work for it. Like you've earned it in a sense, and it's just work hard for it type of thing. What is your sense on millionaires? I'm kind of curious because you've seen some people here that I'm sure that are millionaires as well.
Yeah, a few. The reason I was asking is because we had a conversation yesterday with someone, and we were talking about the limiting beliefs. Specifically, the topic was self-sabotage. And we noticed in yesterday's conversation that very often the people that were around growing up shaped our perspective of money. So the relationship with money as well.
Yep.
So for example, one thing that our guest yesterday said, she's like, oh, when I thought like the more money I'd have more eyeballs on me, the spotlight at me, the negative attention, the haters, etc. And that almost caused her to, while she was a rising star, it almost caused her to just kaput, just fuck it all up. You know?
That's an interesting take. I think it's, but what's cool, what we have nowadays is like exposure to the knowledge. Like a lot of our parents, I'm sure they didn't have what we have now.
Yeah.
No.
YouTube, how to do anything. So I think maybe your parents, I think it's part of it, your parents, but I think another thing is like exposure to the educational stuff. Because like if you have parents that are not smart with money, the information's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To answer your question, my perception of it was shaped a lot by my mother. My mother was always it didn't hit me till I was older what my mom was doing. My mom actually never went past the 3rd grade.
Really?
But that woman is a hustler, and it's funny because the longer she's been in America, I always joke with her. I'm like, the bigger your real estate portfolio, the less English you want to speak. And she always goes like this. She's like, this is the only language this country speaks. But my perception of millionaires from my mother was that of they figured out how to basically make their own rules.
Yeah.
And that's how my mom sees it. And now that I'm honest with myself, I realize that's the way I see it.
So yeah, I think a part of it, that this character, this person, the entrepreneur, is not being bitter. Looking at things with a positive outlook, not looking at people that are doing better than you with a jealous or operating from scarcity or being intimidated. This is a common denominator here. Not buckling down, or what is it? Not feeling less than.
Oh,
Just
1,000%.
I say like that open-mindedness.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that they get bitter, and life just breaks them down. So it's great. It's refreshing to see somebody like you, taking from their parents, taking from life, and just seeing something like Legos and making a career out of it.
The smallest things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, my mind went to Jay-Z. You talk about not being bitter. There's a few lines that he says, but the one that literally you say all the time in Brooklyn is, "What you shit don't make me eat," and that helps a lot, because it's like you could do your thing and be amazing at it, and I'll just celebrate it. It has nothing to do with me at all, and it's very interesting because crabs in a bucket. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've dealt with your fair share.
What is crabs in a bucket? Sorry, I have to ask.
Oh yeah, you're familiar with crabs in a bucket, right?
If I'm correct, it's almost like no matter how many times you get bit, you still go to pick them up.
Crabs in a bucket is more along the line of, like, for example, if the 4 of us here are thinking scarcity, then a minute he starts to rise, we need to pull him down, and so on, and then it's just a vicious cycle.
Not even close. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
I sounded so confident too.
Remember to ask questions when you don't understand, because
Yeah, I was like, I thought it was that.
He's like, no.
I thought it was. Okay.
But yeah, like it just because it's you brought that to mind right now with what your answer was, because you're working in a field that is full of older people. So when you're coming in edgy and resourced and forward thinking, etc., they're looking at you like, dude, stop. That's not how we do things around here.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
I was gonna say it leads to some clients don't work with us because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Really?
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
because we're so young and stuff like that. But it goes back to the first thing you said, self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because all right, so I know where I'm at in my career in life, so I surround myself with the right team. So it's that self-awareness that I use to bring to the next level. I think that's like a good tip. Is like knowing like what our strengths or weaknesses are, and that by doing so we know how to pivot. So like, oh, you're too young. I'm like, yeah, but the guys that I'm with are 3 times my age. They have the experience, and we all come together and come a team. It's like, oh, okay, maybe he's not so.
So you have your own like niche,
My point
so
exactly.
to speak. Hell yeah. You're sorry, you're gonna say something.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, but that actually is interesting, because we talked about this previously, and another pattern that we've noticed is, let's say somebody's in your seat, and they could be, I can make up any industry, but what they all have in common is they have their experiences, they have their hobbies, their pains, their triumphs, and then basically they just kind of like make a cute little quilt out of it, kind of just bring it all together, and then that's them as a brand.
Pretty much, we're all crazy. That's what you just said. We're all crazy.
Yeah,
In
beautiful
our own way.
tapestry. Beautifully crazy tapestry. What's something right now, man, that let me rephrase that question. Who is someone that you have learned something super valuable from, but they're overrated? Underrated. I said overrated. Underrated.
Overrated. would be a good one, too.
Underrated.
Yeah. Maybe they're not in the spotlight.
I would probably say some old bosses, some old people I've worked with.
Are you allowed to name names?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
But I would just say in that sense that they weren't for the spotlight. They were just more like, because they're older, they taught a lot of core principles. And I think that we can take that, like, for example, if you look at other people around you, it doesn't necessarily mean like architecture related. It could be like your father or a friend or a nephew or something like that, and take just what that works for them, and take that principle and apply it. That's kind of like what I've done growing up. See, my parents are both two different industries, two different entrepreneurs, and I take what she says, take what he says, and voila.
There you go. That's
There
the
you go.
recipe.
That's the recipe, guys.
Absolutely. So as we start to kind of like wrap things up, some finer points from what Austin's talking about. The conversation originally started with the idea of inspiration. And something that he brings to his field of architecture is that he derives inspiration from here, and then he brings it together and he adds himself. So for you in your career or your business, the same thing stands. You can have a Dairy Queen like Austin's mom, or you can, have you could be a firefighter. It doesn't actually matter. At the end of the day, the same thing still applies. That creativity just comes down to you playing with Legos more. When's the last time you actually played with toys or Legos or drew something or painted something, took some photos? Those are all things that kind of get the creative flow going. If you haven't checked out Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist, awesome book. We then moved on to a second part of the conversation where he starts to detail basically where he stands, the self-awareness, right? And where he stands in his field. And he basically operated from something you've heard probably a few times by now, which is SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then he starts to see how does that make a beautiful tapestry that is Austin. And then from there, he starts to go into, okay, this is where it also applies. He brought up a few industries, but they all have the same thing in common, where he likes to highlight the idea very much like he does. It's yet again coming back to that recipe that you can try over and over again, and the results may vary. You might have better results than all three of us here, really. And then as we start to kind of hand the mic back over to him, the thing that we keep going along the lines of is self-awareness, self-care, and the constant revisiting of your preconceived notions. Just wanted to obviously check back in with you. Are we grasping what you're giving?
I think that was the most poetic answer about my life ever.
He's real good.
That was really good.
Sweet. Okay, so we got it. We're
that
on the right roll
that
here.
was really good. Wow.
Is there anything that we missed that you would like to add?
No, that was really good. I think it's the common traits between all the entrepreneurs in business. Just you don't settle for no. You just keep going. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, you got to keep going for it no matter what. So, the recipe was a really good way to summarize. Everyone's got their own recipe and just kind of tweaking it.
Yeah.
It could be a little thing of maybe waking up this time or doing this. So I'm constantly tweaking the recipe. You guys all are. We all are. So that was a really good analogy. I think is the recipe. Everyone's got their own unique recipe.
What's been the latest one that you weren't so happy with the results?
It's very simple. I mean, there's, for example, switching the gym. I go to the gym in the morning and then I start doing it in the afternoon. Just
I've heard about this.
A little thing that is not crazy, but it's those little tweaks add up. So you could try stuff like that. That's what I encourage them to try. Things like that. Maybe not checking your phone out as much. Maybe limiting to an hour time to check your emails. Little things. It's not when you try to do too many big things, it's you get crazy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
One little thing
it's
at a
heavy.
time.
Life hacks.
Exactly. Yes. What's something in the last 12 years, man, that you'd love to celebrate that you're feeling very, very grateful for?
Very grateful. I'd say I'm grateful for the failures, man.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite failure in the last year?
Last year.
In the last year, yeah. What's your favorite failure?
I'll tell you right now, is not getting some big jobs. And in the moment, it's dang, we should have had it. But I've learned from it, and you grow from it. And I think it's the biggest thing. Is see why you fail. Yeah, learn from. I think failures is the greatest.
I like it. You hug the fear.
I'm all for it, man.
Best thing you could do. Yeah.
I'm in the process of trying to hire someone right now, and I've had some really bad interviews. But it's you learn from it. I'm serious. I'm trying. You got some. I don't want to say names, but this guy should not have been. He should be retired. And he's way too. I'm what are you doing, man? But you learn. You learn what's good and what's bad. Same thing when you deal with your podcast hosts. You're gonna have some good people here and some bad people, and it's gonna make you guys better. Same way.
True.
Well, I think an important thing for listeners and viewers to hear is failures are inevitable, but it's taking that failure and learning a lesson from it is what either you're going to have to go through that failure again over and over again until you learn the lesson, or you learn the lesson and it doesn't happen to you again. Right or right?
I'm all for it, yeah.
Live and learn.
Fail quick.
Yeah, it definitely takes a certain type of person. After all, that scar tissue kind of makes you numb to it,
Yeah. So a little failure thing. I failed my licensing 26 times.
Your which exam?
Become a licensed architect. Yeah.
Wow.
Took me
26 times. You got that no?
Wow. Talk about.
You really don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, I love it.
Dude, but I knew what I wanted. So I was like, I'm gonna fail it 26 times.
times.
Yeah, about like
Oh,
$4,000 in fees. Took me 3.5 years to get my license.
Oh my God.
God
Guys,
damn,
never
you're here
give
for a long
up.
time.
Dude, but like it's because of that. It's like it paid off dividends.
Well, that's what I mean. In this
Amazing.
industry, you're gonna be around for a very long time.
Yeah.
You
Never gives
fucking
up.
earned this
I'm not even
seat.
saying that to like brag. Like I literally, I'm not a
No,
good test
it's
taker.
just, yeah.
So I was like, all right, but I knew like a test is not for me.
Mhm.
Like saying some things are just not for you. I'm not a school
True.
person, so I'm like, all right, test, I'm not for me. But I know the business, the real part of it. So I'm like, all right, I just gotta get through this test 26 times. But we did it. We're here.
Incredible.
Holy
What an
fuck,
inspiration.
dude, holy shit. I could just see him like, 17, 18.
Uh-huh.
I just saw a montage right now of that.
Yeah, it was not a fun. Yeah, not a fun time.
Oh, man. So as we wrap things up, I think the best thing that I hope you take out of this is hug the fear. The fear is your friend. You'd be surprised. I think Bill Gates is the one who said success is a horrible teacher. Fear is your best friend if you know how to actually stop and listen. And I wanted to give a huge thanks to Vegan Gummies as well as Hands Free Gut Automation. They have been an amazing sponsor and support system for this, Active Minds. What we're trying to achieve is having different types of conversations with people like Austin Fox who are blazing basically their own lane. They're paving their own lane, learning from their mistakes and sharing those conversations, their experiences with you. Danny, thank you so much for taking all these risks with me. I hope that you stick around for a very long time. And yeah, that'd be kind of shit if you leave. But
Wow.
right?
Come on,
I mean, like
stop
imagine
saying
she just
that
picks up and leaves.
Wow.
But
it's a pleasure
on that
to be
note,
here.
though, definitely the self-awareness part on you, the viewer watching this, the ROI is amazing on asking better questions, smarter questions of yourself before everyone else. In fact, if you've noticed a theme here, it's that the people that we keep talking to have this one, if you to pick anything that they all had in common, is they seek to understand first and then be understood. That's probably like the last thing they focus on. So this has been Active Minds, where we seek to learn through the experiences and perspectives of those that are paving their own lane. We like to have fun, have conversations to see how their experiences can teach us a thing or two. And last but not least, move smarter together. I'm Catriel C. Sarfati. This has been Active Minds Podcast. Catch you next time.
So guys, as we're wrapping up, we want to remind you that we have our membership program now available on ActiveMindsClub.com.
ActiveMindsClub.com. Grab yourself a seat. See you there.